Hey there, Rockstars. Today's episode has Jamey Schrier. He is the founder, pioneer of Practice Freedom U. It's a coaching company that works in the healthcare space. He specializes in physical therapy, at least initially, because that's what he is. But he has worked in multiple sectors in the outpatient medical space. And he is going to explain from a place of experience and power what to look for in a coach. Like, we're going to talk about what coaching is. We're going to talk about common pitfalls that clients make. We're talking about the market, because it's very ethereal, this whole coaching space. It's for a lot of people, it's like snake oil, right? They hear coaching and they're like, yeah, what is that? And many people might even be open to it, but since it's not well defined, since the industry is so just unclear as to what it really is, people oftentimes gravitate towards the companies that market themselves better, not knowing that the person they're hiring may only be playing the piano 2 lessons ahead of them, instead of hiring a master pianist. So in this episode, I'm excited for you to learn about coaching from a master. Remember, I don't bring anyone onto the show unless I fully endorse and support them. I get zero money if you end up working with people. I don't have any type of relationships with that. But what I really want is for you to be successful. And in my experience, you have to have a coach. You have to have somebody. I've never gone a year in the last 20 years without a coach. And this is a coach that I highly recommend. So guys, tune in, listen for all the nuances of what he's saying about leadership in between all this. This is an individual who will teach you about yourself while he's teaching about what to look for in your next coach. Enjoy.
I didn't know what a webinar was, never heard of it. And this was 11, 12 years ago, something like that. And I went on a webinar and I shared my story. I had slides at the time and I kind of related it because I was being told you have to relate your story to. So I related it to McDonald's. Like, what can you learn from McDonald's? So, I talked about my story and what I did and then the systems and all that kind of stuff. And I loved it. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then that was it. A few days later, somebody reached out and somebody else reached out and somebody else said, can you help me? That wasn't my intention. I didn't want to start a coaching business. I just was sharing my story. And I said, sure. And I started working with them. I didn't have a website. I didn't even have a name. I just said, sure. And I just started working with them. I didn't even know what to charge. And the more and more I loved it, the less and less I started to pay attention to my business that was actually paying the bills.
So the biggest mistake you've made was coaching, but it was born out of kind of just what's needed and wanted. You were on a webinar and people started asking for your help, and without paying attention, you were just leaning more into coaching.
And I leaned more into coaching and I started ignoring my other business, but I was so excited for this business. That's kind of the negative thing that ended up being fine. So then I started building the coaching business, trying to keep the other one afloat. But what was interesting is my Schrier physical therapy business, I never had the same level of passion that I had with coaching right from the beginning. I liked it. I loved it. I loved helping people. I loved the idea of the business of it. But I realized I loved almost like coaching. I just loved explaining and helping people understand and move them along. So coaching was more of a real way of doing that, a direct way of doing that versus through helping people with their physical or limitations or helping my staff with their stuff. So
Yeah, totally.
So much so I ended up selling my other business and moved my entire livelihood into this unknown coaching internet world that I really had no idea about, making no money, starting from scratch. And my kids were, let's see, 11 years ago, my son was 9, my daughter was 7. So I did this right in the middle of their years. My wife doesn't work. She takes care of the family. So that's what mistake did I make that turned out well? That was a really tough way of introducing myself to, holy moly, this better work. I don't have a plan B. I just got rid of my plan B when I sold my business. And by the way, it wasn't enough to retire on. It's basically paid for the kids' college is what I ended up with.
So that is crazy. Cause the idea that I have is that you're running this business, you're starting this organic side hustle. And this is back before coaching became more prevalent in our space. Like in the medical space now, there's tons of coaches popping up.
Nobody was really coaching.
Yeah. So what was in your mind, Jamey? Like in your head, when you're in that position of like, oh, I love doing this on the side. It's not like there was a lot to model. So it wasn't like there was other coaches in pricing. So you're pioneering in the physical therapy space, how to coach. But what was it that finally was like, well, I'm just going to go all in on this and sell that?
I did not make the mistake that I did in physical therapy, waiting years and years and years to finally ask for help and to get help in the form of, coaching. I hired a coach very quickly after I started dabbling in this and said, I really love this. I mean, it just feels right. It feels who I am. So I tapped into just what naturally was my unique ability or gift or whatever you want to call that thing that is just you. And I said, I want to make this into something, but I don't know what I'm doing. But I know there's people out there. So I met my first coach, Jesse, and he's the one that helped me with the pricing. He helped me with architecting all this knowledge I had into something that could be used, right? This was the introduction of a product, right? The typical 12 module course with the videos, but they weren't as easy to do as they are now. So you had to put some money up, understand it. No one knew what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. So the more I did it, I just loved it. I loved the whole idea of it. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand internet marketing, but I loved just helping guide people and using my experience and using just what I'm good at with people and understanding people. So I went outside the profession because there really wasn't a ton here doing what I was doing. So most of my training came with other industries that were much further ahead. Coaching was much more prevalent than it is. We're just kind of catching up to that now, 10 years later.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's interesting. I think what's cool is that you obviously practice what you preach. First of all, you are a student of coaching. Therefore, I think that's important when people are looking for coaches, because I've had in my journey a ton of different types of coaches. And I'd love to get your opinion on just the coaching space in general, because, when people haven't been coached or they haven't like forked over a lot of money, they don't understand why that's important to do. Like they think it's a little snake oily. Do you know what I mean? And I would say this, I would say this. I think there are coaches that are a little snake oily. Like I've look, and I've had coaches over 20 in the last 10 years. So it's one of those where I think it'd be really cool to hear from an expert, like your thoughts on that. Like,
that's a really great question. And I've done a lot of thinking and contemplating and speaking to people around that, being kind of the OG, which is kind of funny. I'm the OG in coaching, and I've been doing it 11 years. And it's like, wow, it's taken that long for us to even adopt this idea of getting help in our business. Even though it was already there before, it just wasn't a thing. Now everything's called coaching. Nobody even mentors anymore. It's called coaching. Everything's now coaching. Like that's the buzzword, which of course confuses and dilutes the marketplace.
Yes.
The same thing as the word physical therapy. It confuses the marketplace because there's so many different versions and types that when I say it, I mean it a certain way, but someone else might mean it differently. And confusion is not a good thing in the marketplace. So I think when it comes to coaches, there are coaches and there are marketers who coach. One of the shows I love watching is PTI, Pardon the Interruption. Been watching it for forever. It takes place here in DC. And one of the guys, every time there's some story around marketing, it always goes, oh, there's the marketers ruining the world again. Like, marketing is the greatest thing in the world, but they can also just ruin shit. Like, it's just such a psychological spin that marketing is. And I love that some of those aspects of marketing, but there's marketers that are looking for a solution to a problem. So they see a problem, people want coaching. I will create the solution for coaching or for, helping someone in their business. So it starts in this world of marketing, saying, I'm going to solve that problem. Whereas someone like myself, and there's other people out there, I lived this. I was the person dealing with this. And then I figured out how to use my knowledge. Because again, not everyone has the same problems I have. And I certainly won't want to teach someone what I did if it's not appropriate for them. It's a different type of coaching, by the way. But I learned the aspects of how to then I market and show up and communicate the problems that our people are having, and then obviously the solution that we have for people, if it makes sense. So there's just a different perspective that people have, and it's really tough to discern the difference because really good marketers, and I'm not here to put down marketers, but they can really make things confusing because they can address every single problem you ever have to almost make it sound like this is a turnkey automatic and it's going to work for you. And come on.
It's a totally different focus, right? Like a marketer. And so when someone's starting a coaching, program, for example, maybe they haven't done the thing that they're coaching on, which happens. Tim Ferriss, I love what he says about finding a coach. There's two things you're looking for. Someone who's either done the thing that you want to do, shown that they can do it, or shown that they've helped other people do the thing that you want to do. So it's a real results driven kind of approach to finding the right coach. And when you have someone who's like, the analogy I give is a coach who just knows 2 or 3 lessons ahead of you, you don't know that it's only 2 or 3 lessons versus a master pianist.
Right.
And so
I call that the weekend coach, right? On the weekend, they took a class and they're next Monday talking about the class that they took, which will work to a certain extent. Because to me, that's like superficial type of coaching. There's a depth in coaching, like a real depth. And that comes from a place of transformation.
Yeah.
And it comes from a place of the solution to every problem in your practice, in your business is you. That's not a cliche. This is your vision. You made up this business. It didn't exist before you decided to open it. And everything that you do, how you communicate, how you create your vision and your values, and how you structure your business and create your pricing, how you communicate your business on your website and the marketing and meetings, that's all you. So everyone that's working for you is a reflection of that. So the solution will always be something along the lines as how you're showing up, what you believe in. So this is the work that I did from the very beginning as a coach when I had really no clients. I had like a few clients. And my coaches asked me, Jamey, what's this about for you? The world doesn't need another coach. Your people in your industry don't need you as a coach per se. So what is this about? When you are successful, when you are coaching dozens and dozens of people, when you're transforming their lives, what is that about? So he was putting me in a space that I was like nowhere near in my mind. But without doing that work, I couldn't reverse engineer it and start creating and developing my message, my quote brand, which would then separate me to anyone else in the market. I didn't understand any of that at the time. It wasn't until later I knew what was going on. But at the time, I did know what I was doing was really cool. Like it felt right. It wasn't the, hey, teach me how to be a successful coach. Can you do it in 30 days? Because I really need it done in 30 days because my family, I can't feed them right now. Like I didn't want to sacrifice what I was trying to build for, I just wanted to make a few bucks. So I think a lot of it has to do with the person that's looking for the coach. What are your values? What are you about? Because at the end of the day, I'm looking for someone as a coach looking for a client. I'm looking for someone that we have shared values. And integrity is a huge value. Walking the talk. If they're not willing to do that, meaning they're going to walk the talk with their team,
right?
They're going to show vulnerability, because to me, vulnerability is a superpower. Then this isn't going to work. If they're looking for the quick, hey, just tell me what to do. Let me just go do it. Just give me the 5 steps. I know for myself that doesn't work for me. So the question is, the more they're clear on who they are, they then can attract, law of attraction. They will attract that coach. They'll know their antenna will be up. Their bullshit meter will be up. If they don't do that work, they're just a prey. They're just in the shark-infested waters, and they are going to get completely gobbled up by the 15 ads that they get per minute, all saying the things that they want to hear. And then they write a check, and then they realize later on, oh my God, that didn't work. And now not only are they in their worst place,
Right.
they don't trust anybody. So now coaching doesn't work, or that doesn't work.
Just
And
like
the
physical
reality
therapy
is,
didn't work. When people say
what's funny,
same
Will,
concept.
is it's the same thing.
Totally.
It's the same story. How do people choose you when all therapists sound the same? When all coaches sound the same? How are you standing out? Because if you're applying those in your business, then it's easy then to know what you are and who you're about, and then be able to connect with the coach.
Yeah. And to your point, using marketing as an interesting like differentiator to help people see what's clear and what's real. Like look at chiropractic medicine, how they'll advertise and market so much better than physical therapy companies. They are so much better at the marketing side because marketers have a different aim. Marketers are all about creating clarity of value to get what? Like a click through to get that call to action. Whereas what you're talking about is like understanding, well, what you're really talking about is authenticity again. You know, there's a lot of things that like you, when I talk to you,
Will, is there anything else?
well, that's a defining thing for you that I've come to learn as a coach. Authenticity is key, so much so that you even were telling me before we hit record, and I was wishing I'd hit it, is that this idea that like you also sometimes stay away from using words like leadership. Talk into me about that.
Well, you were asking me, you were like, Jamey, I'm going to ask you the question, what is your view on leadership? And I said, well, that'd be a great question. I don't try to use the word leadership a lot. In fact, I really don't try to use the buzzwords that other people are using. Maybe it's like contrary in me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I hear of leadership, I hear of more of like an academic term, like an appropriate term used in the academic world. And although I grew up in academia, I went through schooling. I got more darn initials and certifications after my name than I ever thought. And I respect learning. I respect knowledge. I respect that. And that we are also in business. We are in the business of physical therapy. And a lot of those things that we've learned and the way that we learn do not apply in the world of business. So this idea of leadership, what is leadership? Leadership, Will, is how you show up. That's leadership. How do you show up? How do you show up in a staff meeting? How do you show up to your team? How do you show up every day to your patients? How do you show up with a referral source meeting? How do you communicate? What are you telling your people without saying a word? Who are you? What are you about? You see, that's leadership. And the people that have done that type of work, because it's work, you're not just born, this whole thing, born as a leader. Yeah, right. Leaders are created. Some people may have that raw material more than others, but they are created. And I believe that when you do that work and you show up, people resonate. Not everybody, but that's okay. We're not looking for everybody. People resonate with you. And when people resonate with you, you are in essence leading them. Because if you don't have any people following you, you're not a very good leader. Because as the old game is, it is called follow the leader. Leader doesn't mean you have to be this alpha type, barking order, barking like that. And obviously leadership isn't being this passive type. Leadership is being the you that you could be if you could just be you.
Jamey, what I love about that in Rockstars, what I want you to hear in that is what Jamey was saying earlier. The best coaches that I've ever had and I say this very powerfully, that Jamey is in the upper echelon from my multiple coaches' experiences in the highest level of coaching, is that the best coaches, they aren't about making you better, like in the sense that you're broken. That's the big thing that I experienced with some of my coaches, Jamey, was that I had coaches who were very big on like it being about them. I had more than one coach say, "Hey, Will, I believe in you with me behind you." I hated that. It was so much, it was always about them. It came back to, what I've noticed is that early, like these are more established coaches who charge tons of money. But the ones who I appreciated also charged a lot, because when I paid attention. But those coaches were about peeling away what was getting in my way. Yes. It was about exposing the leader within. And I love what you said about everyone can be a leader. That's Theodore Roosevelt. Like, that's proven that that leaders are made, not born. I think some people have more of a natural set of skill sets that might make them feel like they're natural leaders. But what I have found, those guys, they hit a ceiling really fast because they get self-involved and a little bit arrogant. And arrogance is the antithesis of leadership. Like, it's confidence is powerful, but arrogance and self-centeredness, leaders are about giving.
For sure. You bring up a great point too, because I think of some of the, coaches I've had, and some of the people that I've coached, and some of the amazing people that have developed working together. And some of the most amazing, successful business owners, and I mean success all levels. Yes, financial success and money, time, freedom, but also just impact in their lives, purpose in their life, in their families, right? We're talking about people that were no confidence, a lot of them female, because I know there's that, oh, well, it's easier to be a male leader. These are females I'm talking about. A little bit passive, a little bit shy. And they're asking me, Jamey, can I really do this? And I say, absolutely, you can do this. And you're going to have to overcome some of your own bullshit. Like this self-talk that you're not enough. Like this other self-talk. So we're diving into the deeper of, this isn't therapy. I'm not going in their past and their childhood, but I am talking about how they're showing up right now and saying, look, do you have humility? Do you have vulnerability? Yes, I can be vulnerable. Good, because that's a superpower. But can you speak confidently? Well, I can. I just probably need more training. Good, because we're going to do training on that. Can you be empathetic? Yes, I can be empathetic. Can you be stern if you have to? Can you be consistent? Can you manage the emotions that are going to sometimes grab you and shake you around, and you're going to want to just get rid of everybody and fire everybody and go in a cocoon and pretend it all goes away? Can you stay in the fire? I'll be here for you in whatever capacity I need to be, but can you stay in the fire? Because those are the only people I've ever known that are truly successful in any measure, is they stay in the fire until they move out. Because that is the definition of true leadership and true success. It's not, well, I don't want it to be difficult. I do want it to be difficult, because I want to keep the other ones that don't belong their way, and I want to be proud of what I've done. And you can't be proud of what you've done unless you put the damn work in to do it. And there are people, there's someone I've had her on my monthly masterclass, and man, she was in debt. She was drowning. She was the breadwinner of her family. We're talking in debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and dropping $42,000 a month just in interest on the crazy loan she has. 2 years later, she's pulling in $1 million a year. $1 million, real money, no bullshit. I don't bullshit. Real money. I've seen the accounts. We've talked about it. She got a $5 million business at 20% profit in 2 years. I look at her and I'm like, that's a leader. That's someone to look up to. Now, she might give me some praise and stuff and I accept that, right? I'm not going to not allow her to, but the reality is she was willing to do what it takes to do it. And that's the question that your audience, each person has to ask themselves. You wanting what you want, that's not the question. You can get it. No question about it. Maybe not with the model you have if you have a business. Hey, you got to make sure that your model's profitable, right? But assuming you have a profitable model and assuming there's an audience that could benefit from your services, which I imagine there is, everything else is just about you. And if you take that attitude and lean into that, and of course, find the person that can help you, because you're going to get there faster with less bumps and bruises. Oh man, that's the impact that can change your life and your family's life and your staff and your community. And we need more people like that because VCs aren't doing that.
No.
Right? The ATIs aren't doing that. It's the Main Street small private practice owner that is changing, truly changing people's lives and changing our world. That's why I do what I do, because it's so important for those people to be successful. And there's no reason why they can't, except they just don't know how to do it. And they don't know who they have to become to do it.
Hey there, Rockstars. Are you sick and tired of hiring expensive front office staff to spend months training them only to find out that they don't meet expectation, or worse, to have them quit on you, leave you in the lurches only to repeat the cycle? Then welcome to Virtual Rockstar, the only service created by a private practice owner for private practice owners and leaders to help them build their dream teams. Let us hire your next virtual rockstar for you overseas. These virtual assistants will blow your mind. Not only are they more talented and committed, but they're a lot more affordable, and they can do all sorts of tasks from phone receptions, medical billing, patient scheduling, insurance verification, marketing, payroll, and more. And the best part is, Rockstars, not only are you going to save between $15,000 and $20,000 of profit per hire per year, you're going to bring a family out of poverty. So stop tolerating less than you deserve and start building your dream team with Virtual Rockstar. To learn more, email info@virtualrockstar.com. Again, that's info@virtualrockstar.com. Who they have to become. So yeah, I mean, when you're someone like in a PT space and you're, or any medical entrepreneur, that you're sitting there in your practice, you are the product, you're working like crazy. And then you're just like, well, maybe I need a coach. That first coach is such a hard leap for people. And then you get all the marketing ads, the 12 steps to becoming a successful entrepreneur, the 3 things. I think what you highlighted that I want to punch for the rock stars listening is that there aren't 6 steps. Like there's steps you can take that are sure, like educationally based, like you called it like institutional education, but the real learning, the real change occurs at the heart level. To have a coach that's willing to show you a mirror, to help you see what you can't see about yourself. And I think that's what you do that's so different, Jamey, is that you hold that mirror and you know how to hold the mirror because someone held it to you.
Right.
And so you hold it for others so that they can peel away the things in their own world that aren't working for them. But it requires someone, like you said, you keep hitting this point. They have to be willing to do the work. And so It's easier, guys, Rockstars, it's easier to go do the 12 steps to go find a PT. It's much easier to do that than to become the leader that is going to draw people into your practice because you stand for something clear and you're willing to let go of all the things, I love the limiting self-beliefs that you mentioned, like I'm not enough. When people hear about like, what's the deep work? It's insecurities. It's the fears.
Yeah.
Those types of things. So tell me, you hit something I want to ask you, Jamey. What is the difference between coaching and counseling? I think that's where a lot of people get like into this space of, there's a lot of taboo around that.
Yeah.
Space. So what's the difference?
And I talk a lot about that because some people feel, coaching is getting help. And many of us, when we were in school, right, our upbringing, we didn't really get help. Right? We just studied harder. We sacrificed more and we did well. So we think we can work harder and that will solve our problems in our business. And of course we realize it doesn't. So coaching and like counseling, like that kind of therapy, counseling, and we have actually clients we work with in the mental health space, and they would agree with me. Counseling is looking at your past. Counseling is looking at your childhood and your relationships with your parents and all that type of stuff. Coaching is about looking at your present and your future. Now, it may tap into the past. In other words, well, it seems like this is what someone did to me. Jamey, it seems like you've hired or fired 25 people in the last year. perhaps we explore what the heck is going on and fix that. So that's looking into the last year and but we weren't going back to my childhood. Now, some of that came up when we started talking about money, and my first coach in the coaching business said, Jamey, I want you to charge $5,000 for a 2.5-day workshop that you're going to do. And I go, $5,000? I never charged more than $125 for a treatment. He was trying to help me get over all my money issues. But what he didn't do is sit back and saying, so what was the relationship with your mom like? Tell me more. No. He was just starting for, okay, you got issues with money? We're going to start working now to get over them.
Mm.
So that's how I see the counseling in the past versus the coaching of where you are and where you want to go in the present and the future.
Got it. And I'm guessing from your perspective, every single person you work with is a unique coaching path. Like, there's no formula, correct, Jamey? Like when you're working, or are there certain structures that you're like, yep, I always offer accountability and I offer, like, can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, there's two things, and I'll speak just in platitudes, but I'm doing that intentionally. There's two things that every successful person, whether they're an athlete or a business person. So I'm speaking in platitudes. No, I haven't talked to every single person, but I think you would agree with this. You need a roadmap, some type of plan, and you need execution of that plan. You do those two things, you are going to be successful, right? Because the roadmap's going to move you towards where you want to move. Now, if you have a terrible roadmap, okay, assuming you have a roadmap to the right place. So with that said, the roadmap becomes the framework. It becomes, these are the steps needed. It doesn't mean it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're there. It doesn't work that synchronistically, whatever. It doesn't flow like that. You might start at step 3 and go back to step 1 and do that. Like you might be going back and forth, but there has to be a framework. Like we have the Practice Freedom method. It's a framework that we have, that we follow. But the implementation and the execution is where the coaching part comes in. Because left to ourselves, we only see things the way we see them. What if we're wrong? What if it isn't the way we are seeing it based on our views and our experiences and our limiting beliefs? That's why every athlete has a coach. A lot of them have multiple coaches because you don't know what you don't know and you can't see what you can't see. So this is how I view coaching, and I view our clients that we work with is like, hey, what we have to do is first get clear on what is it that you want? Where is it that you want to go? And then based on the biggest challenges you have, because there's a lot of things you're doing well, create a plan, create a roadmap, just enough so to move forward. We don't need to create the 13 steps. Just create step number 1 or 2 and let's get going. And then start guiding towards that. Once you start doing it, things become more clear. You start getting more confidence. Confidence is a great thing because confidence always comes with clarity. So one of our jobs as coaches is to help people get clear. When you're clear, you're more confident. When you're more confident, you take more action. When you're more confident, you handle the negatives of the business. You handle the setbacks and the pitfalls better. When you are not confident, and Will, you and I have been not confident at many times in our life or in the last 24 hours. When a problem occurs and you're not in a good space, oh boy, reaction takes over. You make some bad decisions. You have some terrible self-talk. So it is important to have a path and a plan. And yes, I 100% believe it is important to have some type of guidance. You put those together with an audience of a solution that you provide, and we all have amazing solutions. It's a done deal. It is a done deal. The key, of course, is us. Everything else is there.
Thank you, Jamey. I love that. I can tell you from my personal experience, no matter, I've never regretted putting money into a coach. There's just a big difference because when I put money into a coach, I'm committing to self-improvement. I'm committing to looking in a mirror to some degree, but there has been a dramatic difference in my experience between the different types of coaches I've had. So what I've loved about today's discussion is that we've been able to talk about really what makes a client successful in terms of being coachable and willing to take action. We've talked about what to look for in a coach in terms of like someone who's done it themselves or helped others. You've illustrated beautifully this idea and this architecture of what the coaching experience is like. And so obviously for me, it's important for people. I don't bring people on the show unless I really believe in them. And you're a guy I just have so much belief in. I want people to, if we're even on the fence about it, to reach out to you. So Jamey, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is we have a quiz, which you'll have in the show notes. It's the practice quiz. And the quiz kind of gives you a self-reflection on your business. So I ask you like 30 some questions. It doesn't take long. It takes like 5 minutes, quick. But it lets you answer questions around the different aspects of your business, right? So there's 7 different aspects of your business. And when you get your score of your quiz, you also then get very specific things that you can do based on where you are in your business. You have a $2 million business, you're going to do things different than if you have a $400,000 business. So that's the first place to start. And then from that, you get an opportunity that if you want to set up a call to kind of review that, to learn about, coaching and what it can do and learn about your business, that will come with it. So that would be the first place to do is take the quiz. And then if it makes sense for you and the timing's right, give us a call and we can have a discussion. There's a lot of people that aren't right for coaching. Believe it or not, I might be one of the few, but when I get on a call like this, a discovery call, there's a lot of times that I say, I don't think we're the right place for you. And I'll point you in the right direction. But you know what's funny, Will? I did that when a patient came in, or potential patient. I said, based on what you have, I don't think we're the right place for you. So not everyone is appropriate, not just for coaching, but for what we do.
Right.
And when you're clear on who you are and what you do, you're able to make those decisions because you're not coming from a place of desperation. And that's refreshing for a lot of people who are afraid to get on a call to speak to someone because they don't want to be sold what to do, write a check, and then regret it. And now they're worse off and they're more broke than they were when they started. That's the fear that's out there. And unfortunately, it's out there. So just look for a coach, look for someone that can just help you and guide you, though someone that just feels right for you. I base a lot of things, Will, on just the feel, because not everything can be justified in your head. There's a lot of senses we take that just are our intuition. So really make sure it feels right for you.
Yeah, Rockstars, I don't know how to put into words what I'm feeling right now, other than just to say that, like, to trust the fact that I have had so much experience in coaching, literally just so many coaches over the years, that if you're looking for support, you're looking for Jamey and you're looking for Practice Freedom U and their team, because they have so many powerful tools. But it's more than that. It's transformation. And I've seen multiple people that have gone through there. So many people go through their program. So many people go through their program who end up becoming coaches on their own in their own way. Like Jamey is a pioneer in the coaching space. And why not go to someone who's going to not try to sell you, but just serve you? And serving doesn't always look like engaging you financially. So if you ever feel like you're being sold a product, if you ever feel like you're being pushed into a funnel, that might be your first indication this isn't the experience that you're looking for. You're looking for, remember, there's transaction and transformation. You're looking for transformation. And Jamey does the transformation. A lot of great coaches decent coaches can do transactional stuff that will get you 1 or 2 steps down the road. And they're great. I've done those before. But when it comes to like turning decades into days, you got to go inward, and you got to go to people like Jamey at Practice Freedom U. So Jamey, thank you so much for being on the show. I can't wait to have you back. There's like 8 things I wanted to like get into, but we're out of time. So we're going to have to get you back and talk a little bit more about authenticity and just what gets in entrepreneurs' ways and all these things. So thank you so much for being on the show.
You're so welcome, Will. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. As a thank you, I have a gift. In today's show notes, there's a link for you to join the Stress-Free PT newsletter. This is a comedy newsletter for anyone who works in healthcare. And of course, we're going to have comedy bits. We're going to have inspirational stories, leadership bits. It's going to be a weekly newsletter just to lighten your week, to help you do what you love with more passion. So click that link below and join that newsletter, and we'll see you in our next episode.